What's going on, everybody? It's Jamie.
And John.
And welcome to the Eh-To-Zed Reseller podcast. How's it going this week, John?
Oh, pretty good. Just pretty much par for the course. I'm getting off of a week vacation, so back to work this week. And that's been a little bit of an adjustment from, spending 9 days kind of doing not a whole lot. But no, really can't complain. It's been pretty good. Yourself?
Nice. Yeah, had a busy few days. Just been running around, driving for days on end. I feel like we're going crazy. We just tried to record the intro and I can't even talk. So this could be a good episode where maybe we do a little drinking game. Every time Jamie says a word that's not English, you have a drink. It'll be a good one.
Sounds good. I mean, I just got some grape Zevia here, non-alcoholic, but I'll take a smash.
Yeah, I got some water. Yeah, my brain's not firing on all cylinders today. I definitely got a lack of sleep going on. And like I said, yeah, we crammed about a week's worth of stuff in 3 days, but I don't think I'd have it any other way. That's just sort of the way that we do things. But yeah, episode 10 here. We're already in double digits. I mean, if we count the ones prior to doing it this way, we're well past that. But 10 episodes already, pretty good.
That's not bad at all. I mean, the time is just flying by. I know we only do this once a week, but it seems like how are we at 10 already? But no, it's cool. And it's funny because like I'll go back and I'll like regularly kind of go back to see if there's any new comments and things like that. And it seems like we've got some people who are watching regularly, but we also get some good questions in the comments and stuff like that. So that's been fun.
Yeah, we should actually make a point of going back maybe from the first 10 episodes. Next time we can try to bring some of those comments, into the conversation here. We could do an episode that's basically based off of the comments. Maybe we'll get some new comments today.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things I think we were going to talk about today was adapting on all different platforms to like either spice things up or, needing to adapt because things change on platforms. How often do you do that? On Poshmark, it's a little bit different because we're both using automation, right? So they offer different tools to allow us to try new things. But on a platform like eBay, there's all this background stuff that you can mess around with. And it does make a big difference if you do start playing with it. How often do you actually get in there and dabble around with, the back end of it?
Well, it's interesting, like, because I sell mostly from one category, well, really mostly from two categories, video games, which always seem to perform well and move fairly quickly, and then clothing, which can get stale. I find I've kind of got two different trains of thought on this. And so some days I'll be like, hey, I haven't had as many sales recently on eBay. Maybe I'll go in and take a look. And a lot of times what I'll do in that case is just look at older listings and kind of treat it on an individual basis and do more of like, ending an old listing, selling similar, going in, tweaking price and title and maybe some description notes or whatever else. And maybe even taking new photos if I'm like, maybe it's the photos. So a lot of that's like just kind of tweaking individual listings. But sometimes if things are a little bit slow, I do go in and I'll start like, okay, I like deep diving into the numbers, right? So like I'll look under certain categories in my reports and say, you know what, women's sweaters aren't performing as well. And some of that's going to be seasonal, of course, but just as an example, like women's sweaters haven't performed as well in the last, 6 weeks versus prior or something. And it's been noticeable. So maybe I'll put a sale on eBay. I'll do like a women's sweaters or pullovers or something like that sale. And maybe I'll even go in and like I promote everything at 3% promoted listing. That's just my standard across the board. Maybe I'll also boost those up to say 5% while they're on sale as well. And I don't know that it makes a huge difference, to be honest. I don't know that I've really tinkered with it enough to like see actual legitimate, genuine results that I can like stand firm behind. But it does typically result in a couple of sales again. And then I feel like once you do something, then the algorithm's just like, oh, hey, he's trying. Let's start doing something again. So I don't even know if it matters what you do so much that you're doing something.
Yeah, I think so. I think pretty much engaging with with the app or the platform is pretty much what they want you to do. I think they want you to be active and not just list it and forget about it, right? If you forget about it, it's going to take the right person to come along. There's going to be no other way for it to sell. You know, you're going to get pushed down. You're not going to be seen. I do think, you know, like a lot of things you said, like sales for sure would be a big one. I would always run sales, you know, and some similar. See, here we go. You might as well take a drink because I can't talk.
Game.
Yeah. And sell similar. That would be a big thing. Now, the other thing I've been messing around with, obviously, send offers. Offers is a big thing for me on eBay anyway. I like to do that. Whether it's a 5%, a 10% offer, whatever you decide to do. Some people send way more aggressive offers, but recently I've been messing around with a couple things that I found make a difference. And in Canada, this is going to be very unpopular, but you got to hear me out why I don't think it matters anyway. So I recently, about a month ago, turned on free returns.
Okay.
Most people are like, oh, I don't want no returns. But honestly, when you're talking about eBay, whether you want returns or not, people will find a way to return an item. I find most people who buy something, they're not buying it to return it. They're buying it because they want it. So the idea of that you have free returns on is going to make more returns is almost ridiculous unless it's clothing, because clothing could not fit and somebody could just return it based off of that. But you know, they could also say your t-shirt shrunk, item not described, and they're going to return it anyway. And guess what? You're going to pay for it or you're going to give them their money back. So when you really, you know, when you take all the red tape away, I don't think that it really matters. But one of the perks is if you turn on free returns, you actually get rewarded by eBay and you're pushed up in search. So that's something I've done recently. Is that something I'm going to continue to do? I don't know. It's definitely a bit of an experiment for me. And the other thing I guess I was kind of messing around with was starting to move some of my items from ebay.ca to ebay.com. So, you know, that's just the same thing. I'm still listing from my same profile. There isn't really much that's different. You're just taking your same listing. I'm using Crosslets Magic. I'm just moving it over to .ca, delisting the old one so I don't have two identical listings or anything like that. It is in US dollars. It looks like it's in the US because I've set it ships from the US. So that's just something I've tried, and I've made some pretty quick sales listing old inventory that way. Within a few days, they seem to sell. Now, I don't know if it's just because it's .com over .ca, just something else that I'm trying. Like, I just like to try different things like that every once in a while with old inventory. I'm not going to delist my entire store and do that. I'm just doing it with shoes, and I'm doing it slow, a couple a day, and it's making a difference.
Okay, that's interesting. I never thought about like listing on .com versus .ca. The thought never crossed my mind. So I guess I never really like understood what a point could be. But I guess, you know, I mean, let's be real here. There's probably a lot of US buyers who want to buy US.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they don't want to buy foreign, even if that's Canada, right?
True. It might not be a great thing for you only because you buy 90%, if not 100% of your labels through eBay, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as you do this, your options now are United States Postal Service. So if you want to buy labels through eBay, you're not going to have, they don't even have an option for Canada Post anymore. So that's why it is in US dollars. So there's that to keep in mind if you're going to do that. I'm doing that because I use a cross-border shipper. I don't think I've bought a label directly through eBay yet that way. I mean, I still buy labels through eBay for .ca items, you know, often. If it's something that I want to get out quickly and I think it's going to be cheap enough, sure, why wouldn't I? Because I can just take it to Canada Post and I don't have to wait to take it to Stallion Express or something. But yeah, I don't know. Just because I have that option, I just thought I'd give it a try.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't really think about it. I don't know if I would have that shipping option around here. I know my local third party like shipping company that's just down the street from me, they don't have anything like that. I mean, they work with a ton of different carriers and stuff, but they don't have any kind of like cross-border shipping service of you know, some kind. But there might be something around. But no, I'm going to keep that in mind though, because if something comes up, it might be worth dabbling into that. But I did think of something else as well. You know, for a change or an experiment or something else that I thought I might mention here, and that so okay, yeah, I do mostly clothing and video games, but I like to just every now and then throw some random item up on eBay just to see how it like how it goes. And so like I don't do a lot of these hard goods, but like sometimes I'll come across something like that's cool, I'm going to sell that. And
Mhm.
so I actually find that a lot of these hard good items that I sell, like percentage of them wise, probably sell quicker than like even video games and clothing stuff. It's just that I don't know enough about a bunch of different categories. So I do like to just kind of test myself and test my knowledge and give myself the reason to like research a category or an item or something like that. And sometimes I'll just be looking around my house and be like, you know what, this thing's collecting dust, and I'll throw it on eBay and just see what happens. And it's a good way to like try something else. And I don't know if that has any like effect at all on the algorithm or anything. Like I don't know if eBay cares if you sell in one category or 100 categories, but I do find these items tend to move quick. I don't know why that is, but
Yeah, I'm sure eBay probably prefers this. I mean, I don't know. I'm speaking for myself, not for eBay, I suppose.
yeah,
But I do think they want you to be diverse, right? Like anything you want to
yeah,
sell, you can sell. I don't think it's when you niche down. There's going to be positives and negatives to that, right? Your sourcing might be limited to what you can find. Um, where if you're open to selling anything, there is no bottom line. You can go anywhere, look
yeah,
any place you want. You just have to be willing to do it. Shipping is going to be the biggest issue, right? If we're talking about breakable
yeah,
items, not everybody wants to ship those. Heavy items, not everybody wants to ship those. But I would think, as
yep,
far as is concerned, it's money for them, right? So they want you to ship whatever
yeah,
you're comfortable with shipping or selling.
true, true.
Yeah. But before we get into the next topic here, I wanted to ask you about Posh Sidekick. Have you tried either of the new features that were released? I don't even understand what they are. I have to actually go back and watch the videos, but just thought that was something new that they pushed out that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, if we're talking about something that's come out in the last like couple so, then no, because I've
Yeah.
been basically on a huge mental break. But
Okay.
no, I wasn't, to be quite honest with you, I wasn't even really aware of a new feature.
Yeah. One of them's a closet clear out feature where I think you can do closet clear out, but after I think it must reset back to your regular price so that you don't just drop your price and it's over. But I don't know.
Oh, okay,
That's one of them, and
okay,
the other one is something else. And I should research it because I'm like, those are the type of things that would really help with sales. And I'm like, oh, but
yeah.
I thought
You,
potentially maybe you were onto it. I haven't got around to it yet either. So
no, I didn't, but you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense because I was looking in my tools earlier on Posh Sidekick because I was
mm,
going to start up an auction and I was like, CCO, is that closet clear out? What is that?
yeah,
But that
it
makes
is.
sense because the
Yeah,
thing
so
is,
I'm
yeah,
just
and that's
lazy.
I like to do closet clear and I love participating in it. It makes good sales, but if you just drop your prices every week, every Friday and every Sunday, eventually your
Yeah,
prices are going to be so low and you're like, oh man, this sucks. So
yeah,
I hope that works the way you're assuming it does, where it does a
yep.
temporary drop for that, but then brings it back up. That'd be great.
Yeah, like I said, I was just being lazy. I was hoping you already did the work and I could just get the information
No,
from you.
not even a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. That's just me being lazy. I will put in the effort, and maybe we can talk about that in the future. One of the other things
Yeah.
we're going to talk about today is something a lot of people are scared about, and it's one of the reasons I think a lot of people don't sell online, and it's scamming. So, what do you think your best advice would be for someone to either not get scammed, or basically avoid scammers if it's possible?
I think, all right. So I honestly believe that scamming is not nearly the problem that people think it is. So, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about that. I don't think it's nearly as common as people assume or fear that it might be. But my biggest piece of advice, this is pertains mostly to eBay. I mean, I only sell on eBay and Poshmark, so of course my answers are going to pertain to either of those basically. But on eBay, the only real big red flag that I see that I'm always scared of a little bit is when people are asking a ton of very specific questions. Because unless you're talking about some collector's edition, special limited, video game thing that's maybe new and sealed and like is going to have some significant value. Maybe they're going to send it off to get it graded or something like. There's going to be items where people are going to want to ask more questions and be sure. That makes sense. That's not what I'm talking about here. But like when people are asking you several very detailed questions and just it seems just over the top, I think in most cases that's happening. People are trying to bait you into some sort of documentation and messages that like you've said a thing, whatever it is, so that they can then later create an item not as described claim against you. Again, I don't know how often that is actually the case, but I would say limit the amount of time and effort you're willing to put in to answering very, very specific questions and be cautious. Be sure of your answers because eBay will side with a buyer, even if you didn't have that in your listing. If you've got a message thread where you're saying, oh, it's definitely this, and you're getting into these specifics, they can hold it against you later on. I've had that happen against me twice in the couple of years I've been selling, like, regularly. So that would be my biggest thing anyway.
Yeah. And I would probably rate along the same lines. The other red flag I think on eBay potentially might be, and we all start somewhere, but like if somebody has no feedback and it's just such a they've opened the account today, they're buying this expensive item, seems a little fishy right off the bat. But I mean, somebody, it's so hard because you can't stop somebody from buying your item. You could block them, but you can't block them before they buy it. If you cancel it instead of send it, you could get in trouble again because they could all of a sudden leave you bad feedback. Of course, you're going to still have the item and not get scammed, but then your seller rating goes to crap. On Poshmark, and I think on eBay and Poshmark, it's very new sellers that they target as well, right? Like if you get a message saying, hey, I can't see your pictures on Poshmark, could you please send me an email here? They're trying to get an off-site buy. They're trying to scam you, right? That's like a pretty day one basic scam on Poshmark. eBay, the same. People kind of do things like that on eBay too, but really, I think it seems to be more new accounts. And the reason why I say it's new accounts, because if you had an account that you cared about, you wouldn't be running around scamming people because it's going to be shut down, or people you're going to go into the feedback. And even if they have positive feedback, you're going to see all this negative stuff going towards somebody else. So
exactly,
it's so hard, but I don't think you can avoid scammers, but you're right. I don't think scamming is like this big thing that's happening all the time. Although I don't know if I know you sometimes also watch the Trash to Cash podcast.
I do. Yeah.
Did you hear them talking? I think it was a couple episodes ago about, I didn't go verify this either, but they were saying there was a couple different videos out there on YouTube where people were saying about how to get free items on eBay. And it was you basically using item not described. And they said that, you can scare sellers into basically getting a refund and keeping items. Now, I didn't go and fact check that, but I mean, they're talking about it and I think they're fairly credible. So I'm like, if they're talking about it, I'm thinking, that's pretty crazy if people actually are making YouTube videos about how to get free stuff from eBay.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, that's just it. Like there are people out there who are going to try to do crappy things and take advantage of the system, knowing that eBay is a buyer-centric platform and, buyer has all the protections. Like if somebody sends something letter mail and it's not tracked and you say it doesn't get there, sure, eBay's going to side with you. If you make an item not as described claim, or if you're just like kind of aggressive in a message to a seller, you might be able to scare that seller into, because they think they're going to get some kind of account ding or something like that. Like you say, though, I think that most people are preying on newer sellers. And I guess a piece of advice for newer sellers, it's not even about scamming necessarily. It's about just, eBay's website does have all the various terms and conditions, all the various rules and policies and stuff. Take the time to read through that stuff so you're at least somewhat familiar with how things could go down. Like, so if you have someone messaging you and saying like, hey, I want a refund because of this or because of that, like you do have some seller protections. I mean, obviously I complain about it all the time. I talk about it all the time. Like eBay is always siding with the buyers, and it's so easy to get screwed over. And I know a lot of people don't think they care about their sellers, but in reality, there are some protections. And so a good piece of advice would be to go and be sure you actually do understand what the rules are, so that you don't get scared by these people who are trying to get a free refund out of you or trying to scare you. And I don't think those zero feedback accounts or low feedback accounts, like you say, I mean, it could be someone who's just started it up. It could be someone who used to buy stuff on eBay and it's been a couple of years. They don't remember their password. They can't get in. I don't know. Like I've done it so many times where I've had to create a new account on something because I can't remember my password or whatever. Or a lot of older people are now starting to get on the internet and do e-shopping and things like that. And this is all new stuff. I guess if you're a new account and you're seeing low feedback people, and especially if they're being aggressive with you, that's a red flag. But yeah, just stand strong, be willing to just stand up for yourself a little bit. And you mentioned about the Poshmark scams, people trying to say like, hey, you text it to me or send it to my email or something. Just don't ever take anything off a platform. I mean, just don't go off eBay or off Poshmark. It's not worth it. You don't know what kind of crazy people are out there. Do you really, I mean, I know I sell on Facebook Marketplace as well. And yes, I do have people who come to my house and pick things up and whatever. I feel okay with that. But the reality is you don't know. So if you've got a selling platform like eBay or Poshmark, keep it there. You've got some safety, and that's probably your best bet.
Yeah, I think for Facebook Marketplace too, a lot of towns and cities offer a safe place to meet, right? Like a lot of times it might be at at the local cop shop or some place that's public. So if you are afraid of having people come to your house, or if it's an expensive item that you don't want someone just to come in and take it from you, there are definitely public places you can meet. And I've done that quite a bit. And there's lots of other stuff that I don't care. I just have somebody come to my house. But if you are a nervous person, check in your community. I'm sure there's some sort of public place that is allowed.
Yep. And you know what? I mean, worst case scenario, even if there isn't like a place, if you have a police station nearby or something and you're like, hey, we're going to meet in the parking lot, and the cops come outside and say, hey, you like, what are you doing here? You can't be here. Oh, I'm just we're just making a sale from Marketplace. Like, you're not going to get in any trouble from that. At least if something comes down or goes down, like they're going to have that on video surveillance. And even if they don't technically want you there, they're not going to be like, oh, no, you can't do that. Like, I'm sure it would be fine. One other thing I will mention here about these like Facebook deals, I prefer cash because I can see it, I can feel it. Once that person leaves, they can't take that money back from me. E-transfer, I'm okay with as well because, I mean, it's really hard to reverse an e-transfer. They need to go into the bank and make like a really like strong argument in case for like some kind of theft or deception or whatever. Like, it's really hard to get an e-transfer reversed, but it can happen. I would definitely stay away from I'm okay with PayPal. I use PayPal myself, and obviously I use credit cards for things as well. But I would stay away from PayPal if you're doing Facebook Marketplace deals, unless it's like you can do either friends and family, which is no fees. There's also no protections involved. But if you're doing like PayPal and they want to do the 3% extra and do like goods and services or whatever for like an actual transaction, it is really easy for them to say like, hey, this item didn't work. I want my money back, put the claim through PayPal and get that reversed. So that's worth mentioning as well. Like, I love PayPal. I use it all the time with people I trust and I know. But yeah, I would avoid that because it can definitely be reversed.
Yeah, it's good to mention that too. So now that we get past all the doom and gloom here, what you must have some sales this week. Did you have a particular sale of the week?
Oh, I sure did, man. I sure did. And I got a great story about it. So cool. Because we were on vacation, I was on vacation because I was trying to like gear up and get really, really prepared for 3 weeks away. I was going to keep my store on, but I was going to be away from home about an hour and a half away doing some dog sitting and whatnot. So I was really trying to get a whole bunch of inventory together so I could have like planned listings every day for the next month, basically. And so I was out shopping, doing all kinds of shopping, man. I spent way too much money, but that's okay. Different story. In any case, one of these places that we were going to was right across the street from like a clothing shop I was going. And I wasn't even going in there to do any shopping or anything. Like I expected that I wasn't going to find anything in this shop. It's mostly like a used furniture store. Like these people like buy out houses and estates and then just, you know, sell mostly furniture. But my girlfriend, she also has like a channel and stuff, and she does like all kinds of vintage inspired videos and whatnot. And so she wanted to do like basically just a walkthrough video of this store, and she's done one before, and she's like, you know, it's been a little while, I just want to film in there and it'll be a good video for my channel and stuff. And I was like, yeah, all right, cool. So yeah, I'm in there and I'm just kind of basically thinking I'm going to be in here for 20 minutes while she's walking around filming. And I walk inside, and one of the very first things I see is this Final Fantasy strategy guide for Final Fantasy VII. I'm like, what is this? This doesn't look right, because on the cover is I don't know if you're familiar with the game, but the main character, Cloud Strife, he's like this spiky-haired blonde guy. He's got a big sword, and I'm like, what is this? This doesn't look like him at all. This looks like more, you know, Dragon Ball anime style, like animation or something, or yeah. So anyway, I pick it up. It's got $10 on it. I'm thinking, awesome, this is coming home with me. It's going in my own personal collection. And then because I had 19 more minutes to sit there and just kind of wait for her to get done, I was like, well, I guess I should look this up because I've never seen it before. Maybe it's a little rare. And sure enough, one had recently sold, like within the last 2 months, for almost $400.
Wow.
Because it was a very rare, like limited edition unauthorized guide. And it still had the poster attached inside, like not even unfolded and stuff. And yeah, so anyway, mine didn't sell for $400, but somebody messaged me. I had it listed for $399. Someone messaged me and said, hey, you know, I'm not going to try to like bust you over your price or anything. I see that one did sell for that recently within the last couple of months, but I have also seen some others that have sold kind of in this other range. And, you know, I'm just wondering, do you have any wiggle room on your price? I would definitely buy it today if you could do this amount of money. And I forget what it was in US, but it worked out that it was like $295 Canadian. I was like, you know what, buddy, you got yourself a deal. I paid $10 for it, sold it for $295 4 days later. It would have been cool to keep in my collection and have on my shelf. I'm a big video game fan. Final Fantasy is one of my favorite series, but I can't justify keeping that one. Yeah. So anyway, big long story, long-winded way of saying a $300 video game guide was my sale of the week.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And those quick flips are always pretty fun. Like, I mean, it just puts you in a good mood for sure.
Yep, it makes the rest of the week a little bit easier because you don't have that kind of pressure on to be like, okay, got to make some offers or maybe throw a sale on, try to hit some targets. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I did my work for the week.
Yeah, it's funny. I get that same feeling when I go to the Goodwill bins because you could spend 2 hours there and really come out with not a lot. But in the first 30 minutes, if you find one thing that's like $50 to $100 and makes it worth, the rest of the day doesn't matter. It's so much more enjoyable when you're like, I already got the thing I need. Everything else today is just whatever. And it's just the whole day becomes a completely different vibe. Nice. And I mean, that could be the same with thrifting, right? You could go into 100 thrift stores and find nothing, but when you start off on the right foot, it just makes everything so much better.
Absolutely. How about your sale of the week? What'd you have this week?
Yeah, so not big money like yours, but it's had more to do with timing. So obviously, I'm a month into having the booth, antique booth, and at the end of the month, I decided I really wanted to change things up. And one of the big things I seen was right now the NHL playoffs are going on. So I'm like, I'm going to take all my hockey jerseys out of there because there's a way bigger market online for jerseys. I've sold, I don't know, I'm going to say 5 or 6 of them that I pulled out of there already. But the one I'm going to mention today is the Boston Bruins one. I think it was like $50 US it sold for. But it was like within a day of relisting it. So I just basically put it in my drafts. I didn't delete the listing. I just removed it from eBay, took it to the antique mall. It didn't sell. When I brought it back home, I just did sell similar, put it back up, same photos, same everything. But because we're in the playoffs, the Bruins are hot. You know, they obviously just knocked out the Leafs. I'm sure there's some pretty sore feelings in the room. But yeah, obviously it's a popular jersey right now. Another one that sold same way was a starter Detroit Red Wings jersey. I think it actually was for more money. It was actually maybe for $70, but because the Red Wings were out of the playoffs, I figured the Boston one would be more fitting. I also sold a youth Boston jersey. So I mean, right now, like the teams that are still in the playoffs, those items, if you have any of that stuff, I would say delist your item and then relist it so it gets fresh in the algorithm, because those items are the items people are looking for.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a good sale of the week, because it demonstrates kind of it actually really coincides with the first thing we talked about, which is how you can, like, you know, change things up or like make sales or whatever else, because, you know, like you say, that could sit at the antique booth and maybe someone will come along in person who wants it, or you can get it in front of millions of people, you know, who want it right now. So no, that's awesome, man. That was a good business decision.
Yeah, but that's the way I think we should look at our stores, whether they're online stores or physical stores. You should be, not only should you be adding new inventory, you should be figuring out how to sell the inventory that's already there. Just because it's there doesn't mean that it's going to sell. There's definitely a reason why it's still sitting there. So, you know, opportunities come up. I think, like I said, like we did talk about in the opening, manipulating the items that you do have, I think, is a really good way to make sales that should have maybe been made before, depending on, you know, a lot of factors.
Yep, for sure.
All right, so I think the last thing we're going to get into here was basically what major improvements we would like to see on either eBay, Poshmark, or other platforms. You know, these are obviously more of a wish list than anything else. But what would you be your number one in this category?
Well, I'm sure that it's probably your number one, as well as, you know, millions of other people's number one. But I mean, the eBay feedback system needs a complete overhaul. The fact that a buyer can leave negative feedback without contacting you first, and I mean, I know we've talked about this before, but for anybody who's new and you know, isn't aware, like, being able to leave negative feedback because something didn't go your way, or maybe there was an issue or something, before at least giving that seller a chance to make things right, or, you know, like, it should be a prerequisite. Leave feedback should be grayed out, and you should not even be able to do that until you've at least left a message for somebody and asked them to communicate with you and work with you in some way to try to make it right. And so, I mean, I think that's an obvious one. I think eBay is just off in their own little la la land on that one. I have no idea what they're thinking, but that would be my number one, hands down. That should come as no surprise.
Yeah, I agree. It'd probably be my number one. I'll give my number two just because to give a little more content here. I think the other thing that's frustrating is when you sell something, like for instance, you sold some video games there about a week ago, and the person just left you high and dry. I don't know if they had no intention of paying, but in this day and age, why can you buy something and not pay for it? There's no other platform you can do that on that I'm aware of. Every other platform, you have to have some sort of payment method set up for when you buy something. They're going to charge you, not pay when you want to.
Yeah.
That would.
And you know what? Even if they do allow, you know, some time before they process that payment, in case you know, need to make arrangements, you know, put some money in your account, or switch to a different card or something. Yeah, when someone says they're going to buy $650 worth of GameCube games from you, and then 4 days later they haven't responded to messages and aren't going to obviously pay for it, that is a huge pain. What it should do is, I agree, it should automatically just bill or charge the payment on file after that 4 days, if they're going to allow that. If they're going to allow that window of time, fine, okay. but charge the card on file at the end of that automatically, because that's, like you say, that's what happens everywhere else. Like Poshmark, you buy something, guess what? Instant payment, right?
Yep.
I will throw another one out there because I don't want to just rat on eBay too much, because I feel like we do it all the time, even though, like, yeah, it's where I make my most money. So, like, I love eBay. I just also really hate eBay sometimes. But I'll actually say something about Poshmark here, because I tried this today and didn't realize that it was this much of an issue. So I just found out about this. There's really no good sell similar option on Poshmark. You can go into your listing and go to edit and then go to copy, like create a copy.
Yep.
But even when you do that, it creates an exact copy. And if you want, like, you can't just choose to, like on eBay, you can keep or remove the existing photos and just choose what you want. You can't do that on Poshmark. It automatically keeps all the other photos. And then if you want to replace those photos, you need to go into them one by one and replace them one by one.
Okay.
Or delete them one by one and then add in your other photos. So it almost doesn't even save a lot of time. Because for me, like, I list everything to eBay and then I immediately just go in and just copy paste over to a fresh Poshmark listing. It takes me like 2 minutes to copy it over to Poshmark. It's not a big deal. But I thought I'd save a little bit of time this morning because I had 2 shirts that were exactly the same, just a different color. And it turned out it would have been quicker for me just to do it my normal way. So I would say that would be a really good improvement, especially since, like, with clothing, you might have 5, 6, 7 of pretty much the exact same thing. Maybe color is the only difference or size is the only difference. Should be able to make it easier just to do a sell similar type of thing.
Yeah, I've definitely used the copy before, but I didn't realize it was so hard to edit because I've never really wanted to. Like, things that I have multiple items of would sell, and I would just copy new listing, delete the word copy or whatever it throws in the front of it.
But it's the same photos and stuff, right?
Yeah, I've never had a problem with that, but that makes sense. But yeah, but once again, I think I do the same thing you do, is I start on eBay. So if I wanted to edit anything, it likely would be edited there anyway, and then cross-listed, whether you do it manually or with an app or whatever. But to Poshmark, but yeah, that is kind of annoying. I've never really played around with it too much inside of Poshmark, but
and maybe the website version is better. I don't know, but I do everything from my phone, so I'm just talking about the app. So I'm sure someone has done it on the website and it works just fine. And correct me, but yeah, it was just weird. I thought, that's really strange. All right, so thanks very much for watching, guys. Episode 10 already. That just seems crazy. Like, I don't even understand how that's happened. I know we were a little bit rattled today with lots of travel and lots of work and trying to get back into business mode after some vacation on my end, for sure. But some of these topics I think are important to talk about. Scammers, changes, all these things. If you have any questions about it, leave it down below. And yeah, like we talked about, we'll probably do an episode where we pull various comments, questions, things like that. So doing like our normal format, and maybe just do a video where we're just talking about what we've discussed so far, and then what you, the audience, has come up with so far. So if you have anything you want us to talk about on this channel or in a podcast, or a good topic or any input, by all means, leave it down below. We'll get to it. And until next time, guys, have a good day.